Hi, I'm Bolton, the founder of Animas Centre for Coaching, and in this video I want to explore one of the most vital ideas in transformative coaching, which is the systemic principle. This principle invites us to look beyond the individual, beyond the inner world, and into the wider context that shape a client's experience of themselves and of their life. Now, when people first come to coaching, they often come with a very personal story. I feel stuck. I don't know what I want. I'm overwhelmed. I'm not living the life I imagined. And it's easy to imagine that these stories belong solely to the individual, as if the challenges exist only in their mind, their behavior, and their beliefs. But transformative coaching recognizes that nobody exists in a vacuum. We're all shaped continuously by the systems we move through, our families, our workplaces, our cultures, our communities, our economies. The systemic principle reminds us that the personal is always in relationship with the contextual. When we coach systemically, we're not just asking what's happening inside you, we're also asking what's happening around you. What expectations, norms, pressures, hierarchies, and invisible rules are influencing how you show up? This matters because so many of the struggles people bring to coaching aren't simply internal. They're responses to environments that are fast-paced, ambiguous, contradictory, or misaligned with their values. A client might think they're lacking confidence, when in fact they're navigating an organizational context and culture that rewards one kind of voice or suppresses another. A client might feel directionless, not because they don't know what they want, but because the systems they're part of has never really allowed them to ask those questions. So the systemic principle invites us to explore the dynamic intersection between the inner and the outer worlds. Rather than treating the client as an isolated individual, we see them as part of a network of relationships, of patterns, and of structures that continually shape their experience and their lives. The principle also acknowledges the complexity of systems. We recognize that every client exists in multiple systems simultaneously: relational systems, familial systems, cultural, economic, identity, and each one holds influence in different ways. And as coaches, holding this systemic awareness requires us to soften the impulse to locate every answer inside the client. It invites us to hold their experience with compassion and context. Sometimes a client challenge isn't a personal issue, it's an entirely understandable and probably appropriate response to the system they're in. Now, one of the most powerful effects of systemic coaching is that it expands the client's sense of personal agency. When they see the system clearly, its expectations, its patterns, its limitations, they can choose how they want to relate to it. They can align with it, they can challenge it, they can reshape it, or step outside of it. But whatever they choose, the choice becomes conscious rather than inherited or automatic. And what makes this truly transformative is that systemic insight often leads to personal liberation. When somebody realizes, this isn't just me, this is the system I've been adapting to, something relaxes. There's space to breathe, there's room to rethink assumptions. There's permission to imagine new possibilities that were previously obscured. In this sense, the systemic principle is inseparable from the other principles of transformative coaching. It relies on the relational stance, a genuine, attuned partnership. It depends on unknowing, the willingness to set aside assumptions about what the client's challenges mean. It draws on the phenomenological, seeing the client's world as they live it and experience it. And it works in tandem with the paradigmatic, illuminating the worldviews that arise from systems that people inhabit and the beliefs that it leads to. So the systemic principle isn't just an add-on, it's a way of seeing, a way of understanding that the human experience is always nested within wider contexts, and that transformation often occurs at the point where personal insight meets systemic awareness. Ultimately, systemic coaching helps clients recognize that they're not stuck because they're flawed, they're stuck because they're human, living within systems that are complex, shifting, and sometimes constraining. And when they see that clearly, they can begin to navigate their world with more agency, more compassion, and more alignment. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you on another one.